Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well this evening. I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about this evening. That's kind of normal. But something struck me right before I decided to go ahead and record this, and that was actually it was something that my brother had actually shared with me. As far as building healthy relationships and developing healthy relationships, especially ones that had suffered for a while. Actually, here, one second. I'm going to go ahead and read a quick little passage here from my book. It's actually from one of the Stoics. It was from Seneca. He says, "I say, let no one rob me of a single day who isn't going to make a full return on the loss." And first of all, I just love that. I love the way that some of those philosophers would word some of the truths that they spoke. Let no man waste a single day of mine that does not make a full return on the loss. The reason why this reminded me of what my brother had said to me here recently, who, by the way, my brother and I we've been disconnected from one another for about 2 years. There's a variety of different reasons and circumstances that caused us to need a separation for a good period of time. But we finally have reconnected. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 years. And that space has really allowed for me to see him as a completely new human being, and for him to see me as a completely new human being. It's exactly what we needed, even though it was hard. And in he and I's conversation that we had a few weeks back, there was something that he shared that really stuck with me. And I say this because historically this is something that was definitely a struggle for him, at least in the past. And that was allowing for the vibe of the environment, the energy of the environment, the kind of relationships that he would have to be dictated by them. And unfortunately, a lot of the relationships that he had in his life at that point in time were quite pessimistic. They were quite, they would have a tendency of really, really bringing him down. And then because of that, he would have a little bit more of, he would adapt to their energy a little bit. And you could feel it on him. And he was becoming more pessimistic, more divisive at times. But because of it, there's a measure of depression that he definitely went through, and anxiety. And something that he shared with me, though, during our last conversation here recently, was how much those relationships had shifted, how much all these different interactions had turned around. And he said it is because I decided that with all of my relationships, even those ones with older relationships that a lot of times will carry a lot of negative baggage. There's a lot of story there. And he just said, I decided that I was only going to focus on making deposits in my relationships and not withdrawals. And I love that terminology, because it's something that I feel like anybody can grasp. To just say, am I making a deposit or a withdrawal from this relationship? And it's not saying that you can never get something from a relationship that you can't receive. Being in receivership in a relationship can actually be really, really wonderful and incredibly healing. But what is the overarching theme with a relationship with a particular person or group of people? Family member, friend, whatever it is. What is the overarching theme and energy of that relationship? Is it one that is centered on giving, or is it one that is centered on taking? Are you the one taking? Are they the one taking? Are you the one giving? Are they the one giving? Because if something is given freely, whether it's you or them, you can feel it, and it feels true. It feels authentic. If someone is taking, then there is an imbalance there. There's an imbalance there. There's only, there's a measure of beauty in acceptance and surrender. It's actually a concept that I was just introduced to here within the last week or so, and that was giving and receiving, taking and allowing. So it's those 4 different ways of relating in relationship, that it is always one of those things. Are you giving, or are you taking? Are you receiving, or are you allowing? And to boil it down for a lot of people to something that I think is probably a much simpler way to address it is, am I, at least in the starting stages, is to just say, am I making a deposit in this relationship, or am I making a withdrawal? And I have used that so many times since my brother introduced that to me. Because now I'm feeling that in every one of my relationships. I was already feeling it, but it's nice to have an additional languaging around it. Say, what am I bringing to the table for this person right now, for this human being? Am I trying to get something? Am I not being authentic right now in this connection? Am I trying to do something in order to get something? Am I falsely giving, or am I actually giving? Am I actually making a deposit in this relationship right now? Or am I trying to take? Am I trying to manipulate? Am I trying to gain control or power? Is it self-service, or is it actual service? So it feels really, really good to sit with that and to really contemplate how I can show up more, better, more consistently, more authentically with all of my relationships. How can I make a deposit? I feel complete with that here right now. I could talk about it for a long time. Maybe sometime I will. But right now that feels like enough. And I'm glad that you stepped in, and glad that you viewed this, and whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you're watching it. I hope that this brought some additional layer of truth for you in relationship and how to relate effectively. This is something we're always constantly learning. We're always constantly receiving. if we just open up and allow, it's I wouldn't have, a month ago, I wouldn't have expected to be quoting my brother. I wouldn't have expected to be using his wisdom and receiving so much from it and then talking about it in a format like this. I would never have guessed that. And yet here I am, because I chose to see him as new. And he chose to see me as new. It's a really wonderful life that we're living right now. There's a lot that is available if we actually open up to receiving healing. It's all here for us. So thank you all for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking this time out of your day to watch this whenever it is. If you received a lot from it, please, I would love if you would consider throwing me a like or a subscribe. All the support for this channel really helps. And if this impacted you in a certain way and you have any words for it, feel free to leave those down below. So thank you, as always, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.